Today, Sven joins me. He started coaching at the age of just 18 years old, a little baby from Spain, and he is here today as a hard-headed 32-year-old. How are you doing, Sven?
I'm very good. Thank you, Jamie, for your invitation, and I'm very glad that finally we can meet and talk a little bit about the thing that we love the most, that is football. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you very much. And you're talking about the love of football, but how did you fall in love with the game? Was it in Spain?
Yeah, I think as usual in Spain, I think since we are kid, we watch, we play, we eat football 24/7. So for us, it's like our main motivation when we are kids, and then of course with the age you develop different sort of love for the game.
So, what did you play for a team when you were a kid? If so, why? Was it your parents, brothers, sisters?
Yes, I mean in my family, to be honest, I think I'm as long as I know, I'm the only one who have this crazy thing with football thing. My sister have played other sports like handball and so on, but not really an sport family, let's say, no focus. But for me, yes, I can remember 3 4 years. I think my best moment of the day was to play football. Sometimes matches, sometimes more organized tournaments or organized team, but also spending a lot of time at that time in the street, different size pitches, different even like the field that we create now when we are kid with the school bags or whatever. So it was like more or less like this, no? Like from through my first friends, I can remember that all the time what we spoke or do, it was to play football.
You mentioned that you used bags, probably as goals. So two bags, and then there'll be a
Yes.
goalkeeper, and you've got to try and score past them, which is something that happens here in the UK. But in more recent years, there's been more funding towards making parks with a football goal to have these kids playing goals rather than bags. In Spain, when you were growing up, was it more bags, or was there more funding coming through?
Well, in Spain, I think like everything that it can be like a shape of a goal, no, we use as a goal. I mean, and I think we at that time we didn't make too many difference between the older guys, the younger guys. So we play everyone, no, the ones in the neighborhood, the one of the neighborhood of the friend ex, like we go there, and I think football has been since always a very good link for people that they don't know each other. I mean, in talk, I think now that I travel that much, still a good topic to talk with people. But at the same time, even when we were kid, I was a little bit shy at that time, for example, and for me it was really easy to interact with people while we have a ball, uh, you know, playing and enjoying. So
I spoke to someone from Morocco a few days ago, and they were telling me that it's similar. You'd knock on people's doors, neighbours, whoever they were, and if they wanted to come play football, you play football on the streets, in a park, or in maybe a football pitch itself. But in the UK, from what I'm so used to, that doesn't really happen. You have your friends and you play with your friends. So it's very segregated, which maybe is why Spanish football is so successful. Maybe not successful as the Premier League, but you see a lot more link up in players. We've seen Fernando Torres in recent years and all these amazing players coming through. And the technicality, the skill and all the footwork of these players, is that what's so different compared to the UK?
well, I think in UK you cannot complain about your football at this
Well, of
moment.
course
I
not.
think
No.
you
Yeah.
you you have built I think one of the most amazing league in the history of football in terms of like the players, the coaches, but also as a for the supporters. No, at the end of the day, the football is for the people, is for the supporters. And yes, I think also in Spain it helped us a little bit, maybe the weather, and maybe at that time, now it's a little bit different, but at that time maybe this the safety that we felt. I mean, I grew up in the north of Spain, and I never felt like really, how to say, like any danger around me in terms of like real dangers. I also grew up in a place where they have the Basque country, no, the an area a little bit special with their own language, and people who feel like more, more local, no, their feelings, but also people who live in the border with friends, no, in my case. So So I think we were forced a little bit to interact with people who were different from us. So this thing of group of friends, yes, a lot of good group of friends, but not one. Maybe the friends from the school, friends from the football, friends from summer friends, I don't know, whatever. So I think it's a really social life. I think in Spain, usually everyone is quite social in this case.
Were you social on the pitch? Were you a loud vocal player?
Yes, I mean, and I still look for that in players. I still feel that communication. There are two ways that you can communicate in football. One is the information you receive from the eyes. I mean, if someone is running in front of you and you can understand why he's moving, if it's for receive the ball, if it's for create an space. But especially, I think it's important to communicate like to correct, to push. No, when you don't have more energy in your battery, also like to push your teammates. And I think the critic will be go there, but I think is the one that sometimes you need the less. I think when things are not going well, we need always someone who can be optimistic and push forward. But yes, I think football without sound or without the crowd or the people is, I think it's a really an sport of sounds. Like I think everyone can hear or can understand that one pitch of football is close as long as you hear the sounds, not the whistle of the referee, the sound of the supporters, whatever, the instructions from the bench. I mean, yeah, I think football is quite a special sport in this sense, because I think the sounds is for me at least is 40% of the game. I mean, I don't get to watch a match without sound, for example. I know some people they do that to focus or to analyze the matches. Me, I love to feel as much as there is people on the field. I like to hear.
We see with a lot of Spanish clubs, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, these amazing fan bases. And in recent years, Girona, what they've done this season in La Liga has been amazing. But what I like about their fans is maybe in a sense it's bad, but they have no limits. Sometimes that's quite negative, but at times it can be quite positive. The pyros, the smoke, all of the loud noises constantly for 90 minutes of football. As a fan, as a coach, as a player, how does that motivate you? Because if you have no energy on a pitch, how does that noise motivate you to keep going?
I think the point of the fans and all this celebration, no, that because at the end it's an event. I think the nice thing of this football is like to think that because you're doing your job well, let's say you're doing your profession in the best way you can make the people's life happier. I mean, if you are a striker and you score a goal, at the same time you're making, in this case of the clubs that you mentioned, Barcelona, Girona, or Real Madrid, you're making millions of people happy worldwide. So I think even in the small communities, if you are playing or coaching in small towns, also it used to be an important part of the community. So I think it's always good to see people in the fields. It's always good to see new generations of kids coming. And I think the football is this at the end of the day why all of us we watch the World Cup, because we feel identified, because we feel that it can give us it can improve our day. We can feel part of a global success. So I think football maybe nowadays in club structure, it lost a little bit maybe the feeling of this is a Manchester United player, this is a Liverpool player. There's still some, but maybe it's not like in the past. But I think all of us, we see when the national teams are coming, we feel like even these people who don't like football, they come in and to watch the match because they feel part of. So I think football is a global phenomenon, and it's a worldwide phenomenon too.
So when you were growing up in the north of Spain, you were saying that there was quite a community around football, and you've said that it sparks into the World Cup and elsewhere in other competitions, tournaments for grassroots and for kids as well. When you were growing up, when was the first recognition that you could become a footballer or later down the line a football coach? Was there a grassroots team, maybe a professional academy that you were in?
No, I think I always wanted to be part of football. Let's say in the way they want, like it could be. I like it communication. I like it a lot of things related to the game. But I think at certain age, when 17, 16, you start to think a little bit more what you do want to do in a professional way, and also what it moves you, what it motivates you. So for me, it was football on my head. I think maybe the coaching is coming from one of my best friends at that time. When I was kid, he was invited by Real Sociedad at that time to be in the academy and things. So I have seen a lot of potential on him. I have seen a lot of qualities for be a football player. But then I knew the other side of his life, his personal life, or the family issues. And sometimes I thought that how it can be that one young talent like this it get lost, or there is not any guide on these people. So it always stayed in my mind that something was wrong in these things. That it wasn't not just about talent. That there were something else. That the ones who arrive is not necessarily the best ones. So I start to see a little bit more. Of course, I knew the coaches, but I didn't know how they did arrive to their job. I was a little bit naive at that time. I didn't understand. I knew that some of them they were ex-footballers, but not really well was the formation they have. At that time in my hometown was from family of my hometown was the coach of Deportivo de La Coruña at that time that was playing Champions League, Javier Ureta. He was from there, and I start to see there are people, there are people around that they're doing well, that they come in literally, let's say, from the same place as me. So through my family, I start to get information about the coaching license. I start coaching as assistant coach in a former club that I play. The year before, I make an experience with 10 years old boys. So to see if you really like, because I think that you can feel that something you like, but till the moment when you experience, then you see if you really want to take that responsibility, or it's just like, okay, I want just to have fun. So me, since the first day, I can't even remember the first match I coached. And me, I felt something special because it was rainy day. It was a terrible day. Kids of 10, 11 years old, and I still, love it. And for me, I still, in my mind, everything. I know what I wear that day. I know everything. So for me, it went quite deep. And after that, I just try to look what's the way to improve on this, because of course there is some formation side, no, the coaching license, etc. But I think experience is everything in this game. I hope in 20 years I can say that I'm much better than nowadays, because every day you can learn, and it's very a practical, a very practical job. So even you have there now right now in the Premier League one example of one coach that I really respect a lot from his career, that is Unai Emery. He's nearby my hometown. I mean, his family must live 15 minutes from my family. I have met his brother in the coaching license and etc. But for me, it's exactly the example of one coach, because he stopped playing in third league in Spain. Next day, he become a coach, and he promote team after team after team, and arrived to the level that we're talking about in the best league in the world. So did he study a lot? Did he did a lot of things? I think he just act, no, and move and keep going, and that's what this profession is about.
Why do players not go professional then? Because you were speaking about, players that have gone professional near you, or Unai Emery, for example, that has become such a top manager. But from what you've seen as a player or as now a coach, why do players who spend all this money and time trying to become a footballer, why do they not make it?
Well, I think there is a key factor in life, which is maybe luck. Maybe some people don't want to see it like this, but I like to define luck like, okay, you have some chances in life, not just in football, but some chances that they come into you. Some people they take them, some people they don't see the importance of this. So I will say luck, but I would say determination. No, I think many people in football they don't see their careers as a global thing, no, as a long term, especially in the formation, as a long term way. And in this path, they lost in the way. Some people they lost because of, let's say, the life situations, no, you start to want to spend more time with your friends than playing football. You start to want to get out with the new girlfriend you have or whatever. You start to want to have a life in a different way of a normal person, which is quite normal in those age. But at the same time, I think many people at the same time are doing the opposite. They are restricted from many things, and they are putting their life is all around football. So I think that makes a lot of difference, because I think quality is important, skills are important, and and the genetic and everything. But at the end of the day, I think nowadays you can see examples of players that they don't need to be brilliant, but they become brilliant. So I think the most important thing in to become a football player is like not the patient, but to be able to look farther than just the result of today, because everyone wants everything nowadays. I mean, and I think it's coming from our culture. No, nowadays we have internet, we have all these tools, we get everything when we want. So of course, to ask to people to wait for something is difficult nowadays.
So when you're 12, 13, 14, you're a young person and you want to become a footballer, male or female, and you look at YouTube or you look at TikTok and you look at social media and you kind of think, I want to be Ronaldo, but
Yeah.
you don't understand the work behind it. Is that what you think it is? Do you think it's the lack of ethic and work ethic to be able to put yourself on that stage?
Yes, maybe in this case, I think sometimes people try to copy the path. It happened even with the coaches, but in general, people try to copy the path of someone else. And I think Ronaldo is one of many that inspire kids and inspire people. But yeah, probably we need to you need to get your own reasons of why you will do that effort that he did. Um, who, because I guess also maybe Ronaldo, because of the image he have, sometimes he can pretend to be like arrogant or whatever, but probably he listened to a lot of people. Probably he asked, as long as I know and I saw in interviews, he asked too many people about how Ronaldinho does this, how this one does that. A guy who really active in terms of knowledge, no, in terms of like how I do recover better. So I think it's not just the training. I think is the curiosity of improvement, because I don't know. Like I guess that most of us, we arrive to 18 or 20, we think we know everything. We arrive to 25, we still think that we know everything, and so on. So I think if you are arrogant enough to play, but let's say in your daily life quite humble to still learning from others, I think that's good. I mean, I think Ronaldo, even people can see arrogancy. What I see is a lot of a very humble person, because he still want to learn and he still want to do things that maybe are not the normal ones. So yeah. I think nowadays maybe just we get with the image of the good things. Maybe if you want to be in football because of the fame or because of the money or because whatever, or because the recognition of society, I think that's about motivation. You need to do because something moves you. Because I think that's the key point, that
We've
short-term motivation is not good.
we've seen with players like Dali Ali, for example, who have had he's 26, 27 years old now, and
Yeah.
he broke through at MK Dons, signed for Tottenham, was an amazing player, but
Hmm.
he was so close to becoming that really, really big player. Shirt selling fast out the shops, a Nike athlete, for example, all these amazing things that he had, but could have really improved over the career. But we all know what happened to him. He's had family problems like other people,
Yeah.
elsewhere. Is that a distraction? I mean, not just family, but I'm saying he was so close to becoming that huge superstar worldwide. What do you think happened to him? Why was he such a downfall?
Well, I think it should not be. Maybe football goes a little bit. How to say? There is a good sentence of Valdano, former sport director of Real Madrid. He have some interviews also in the television, and he said that one day that we uh, we treat them like kings. We make them, like we really make them believe that they are a lot, and then we demand from them to be normal. So we are raising them, and then we asking them to be a normal person. I think with Dele Alli can happen this. I think when you are 20 or 22 and everyone is saying that you're going to be an amazing player for England, for, I don't know, you are going to sign for Manchester United and I don't know what, and this and that. I think at that age it's not easy. I think it's not easy. And I remember also Juan Mata, from when he was in Manchester United, also he made an interview and he said that between money and fame is the one that is really difficult to handle. And I think it's true, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to be close to you, I guess. If you are Dele Alli and you are Tottenham player and Premier League player and England player, I think everyone wants to come close to you. But probably most of these people, when now is coming moments like right now for him, maybe they have gone. So I think The maturity is an important thing in football. In the past, in football, you earn more money during the 30s or 28 or whatever. Nowadays, the boys are making money with 17, 16, 18. Like they already make a lot of money. So I think it kills the motivation. I think, and you have a lot of cases in England of players, like amazing players, like Rashford for me. But I don't know what, like if you make an effort and you get a reward for that. I don't know how should be the process of how much you get, because of course we seen in the last years a lot of waste of talent all around the world, and many things I think coming from the super contract that they get. And I don't have, honestly, I don't have nothing against that people are paid for the job. Probably they deserve for the money that they produce for the Premier League in this case. But as a person, you need an environment where you can handle it, because you see players nowadays wasting their career. This is the reality.
I often go on Instagram and I see, a lot of footballers, they turn off their comments, maybe to try and hide the distractions that, it could be, rude comments. It could be telling them what to do. It could be all these things that psychologically could affect you, day to day, whatever you may be doing. Is it those distractions on social media and the new things that are coming through that distract these footballers, especially the young ones that are on there more frequently, and that harms their career more than what it would have done 30 years ago?
Of course. I think you give in the key point, distraction. I think in any career, in any goal that you have in life, you cannot entertain yourself with the people who are on your path, talking or doing nothing, just like talking about what you do. So yeah, I think the social media by itself at that level, that is not the level of everyone, but at that level of this exposure, how exposed they are, these players, is not healthy, and is not healthy in a young athlete. So yes, I think if I will be one of them, I will not I will not read, because yes, you can receive a lot of praises, but also you can receive a lot of critics, and most of them can be just feelings, like emotions of people, but nothing really based on information, on something that can make sense. But we are humans, so we will be affected, and no matter you earn 5 million a year, 9 million pounds a year, you will not you will not be able to don't be affected by that. So distractions I think is the main challenge of everyone nowadays.
So are we too far down the road now to turn back? Because if you wanted to give someone who should be on a lot of money a week, £130,000, for example, to then reduce that to 100,000, 90,000, but then say if you score 20 goals, I'll give you a bonus of £5,000. Are we
Yeah.
too far? So a player's so used to getting these huge, huge sums of money that they can't go back and now say I'll reduce my wages for a bigger bonus.
But I think this is the problem of football, that it's a collective sport but full of individual targets. So it's really difficult to create a team spirit. That's why some teams, as Leicester City some years ago, or there are some examples in football, Napoli maybe in Italy, for example, that when the people are not well known or they are not super famous players, sometimes it works much more than when they arrive. If you check now, let me know one player from that they pay 90 to 100 millions for him that he really performs. There are not too many. So these things of numbers in football, or what is going on in Saudi now, I don't see it bad, but I see it as a really difficult thing to handle. You have nowadays full of news about the players who want to leave Saudi, and I think money takes people really wrong decisions sometimes. And I once again, I tell you, I think many people, they deserve to be paid well, but I think you need to see your career as a long-term thing, even if it's short. But you need to try to push for the right motivations, which is usually not money.
We've just seen Jordan Henderson, go from El
Yeah.
Ettifaq to Ajax, and I'm sure Benzema might follow out soon, and I'm sure a few other names will. And slowly but surely, Saudi Arabian football could soon die out. As many as people say, it already had sort of died out already, with Henderson playing only in front of about 2,000 people. The aim of Saudi Arabia was to create another income for the country, right?
Mm.
They're now targeting Salah and Kevin De Bruyne to go there in the summer. Is this a positive thing for Saudi Arabia to be doing? Is it healthy for them, but is it also healthy for the players?
To bring the league there, to bring the players there.
To bring the players to Saudi?
Yeah, well, I think Saudi is one of the most powerful countries, or the most powerful country in the Middle East. So I think that what I surprised is that they didn't do before, because of course the idea is good, and I think many players, they demand to have somewhere to go out from the USA or other countries, or in that moment China, etc. But I think Saudi is not just in football, but is doing a lot of changes in the last year and a half. I think I saw the league, and I think from last year to this season it improved. I mean, there were some matches like really, as a supporter, or as a fan of football, really nice to watch. Then you need to see the stability of the league, or if they can push such a such a hard for the first steps. I mean, because it was really impressive on summer when you see the list of players that went there, because we are not talking about just Cristiano with 38, but we are talking about Mane, we are talking about Mitrovic, we are talking about Milinkovic-Savic. So players that are really performing in Europe, and they are doing well, and they're still young enough to have a couple of years more in the best leagues. So I think it's a good news for football that appear one league which is doing things in different way. The only thing I cannot say right now, how is the league inside. So I don't know what is the reason of some players to leave. I don't know if it's the life out of the football. I don't know if it's like some matches are good and some matches are not big enough, let's say, for the level that these people are coming. But I think as an investment, or as an effort of the country to promote the football, is massive. Maybe they succeed, maybe they don't, but the way they shake the world of football, I think, was positive.
If we put Saudi Arabia, if we took them into Europe, right, and they could play in Champions League, they could play in the Europa League, Conference League, they could play against other teams, and they can really be invested. So let's say we put Al Nassr or Al Ettifaq or any of these teams into Germany, for example. Would they do well in those competitions? Is it because are Saudi Arabia not getting the credit that they deserve because they're in Asia and because they're far away from everyone's eyes in Europe?
Well, I don't know. Of course, if you compare with the Premier League teams, I think no chance, because the level of the intensity of these people, the level of preparation of these people, I think is completely different. Even in Spain or in Germany or in Italy, I think they will still have troubles, but why not? Maybe not now. Maybe I think it's too soon to talk about this. No, yesterday or a few days ago, they were mentioning that maybe it's better than the French league. I don't really know if that is true, but till now, when I saw in the preseason Al Nassr playing with Celta de Vigo or other clubs in Europe, well, I think I would say that the Spanish team in that, even it was preseason, but well, I would say that I felt a huge difference still.
So going back to your career, at the age of 22, you moved to Madrid, right, to coach
Yeah.
the under-18s and senior teams. A big step up from only a few years ago at the age of 18, switching to become a coach. What was that transition like from the age of 18? Such a young age to be able to say, I'm going to become a football coach. Why would you think that?
Well, I think the point of football till now, I didn't find something that stopped me, something that I said, I don't want to learn this or I don't want to do that effort. I think every time when you settle a goal in your life, you need to think if you want to pay the price. So one of the prices that I understood soon after a few years was like, I need to get out. I need to get out because the area where I live is small. There is a good football level. I mean, to be honest, right now, many of the coaches that are worldwide, like Emery Lopetegui or Xabi Alonso, these people are coming from the same area as me. But I think that living in Spain, the only city that they can give you a little bit of connection with what is the world outside from Spain, I think, is Madrid. So at that time I was choosing between Madrid and Barcelona. I have some relatives in Madrid. So I decided to move to Madrid, and it was a great experience because I have the chance to study and to coach at the same time, and also it did improve my English because at the time I didn't speak a word, So it was a 2 years in Madrid, 2 years and a half, an amazing experience in terms of human being, but also in terms of football, to see more or less how different was the football in the capital of Spain comparing to the north.
What was the difference? What was the difference between city life and up north?
I think in the north we are how to say, more traditional people in many aspects, and people, the local sports, usually they are related to the strength and endurance. So our way to play is a little bit that one. No, I think we fight a lot for the throw-ins. I don't know. You can see specialists in throw-ins. You can see very tough players, quality, but never how to say, never very honest game. I would say like a little bit like the kick and rush of England, but yeah, I would say I would take a lot of things from English football.
So
So
moving
yeah.
to Madrid, what did you learn? What was the sort of, because you said about connections? Why are there any connections in Madrid? Is it just because that's the hub of Spain?
I think yes. I think Madrid is everything. I think Madrid is a city that everything goes faster. I think my area people are really kind, really polite. I think in Madrid people are tougher, and it gets you ready to any sort of challenge in the future. So I think in Madrid they feel the football hard, but it's like a more individual city. I mean, people have their own plans and their own things, and there is not this community thing. Many people are not from Madrid. This is another fact that in Madrid, many people are out from. So in Madrid, your life became much more individual. You need to deal with a lot of things that maybe in the north they don't exist. I mean, not because I think it's we as a human, we are what we are around. No, I mean, we are our environment. We take from that. So I think in Madrid, everyone is a bit more competitive. I think at the age of 18 in Madrid, someone need to speak 4 languages and need to be abroad, and I don't know what, and then need to go for a doctorate, and I don't know, like everything goes faster. In my area, was everything calm, was a nice life near by the coast, an amazing life. So I always said that when I left my hometown, it never was because I really was feeling unhappy there. I was extremely happy, but sometimes you need to pay the price of moving forward. So that was one of them.
Was there any sort of possibility that if you stayed up north, would there have been a possibility of where you are today, or would that just not have been possible without Madrid?
I don't know. I think I would say no. I would say no. I would say that I think I will get more in love with the place I am from. If I will stay there, I think I would not get out. So I think was the right timing. I didn't get out like at 18 or 20. I get out at the 22, which I already enjoy. My teenager time, my young adult time. So I think I went in the right moment. I think now I go back and I speak with my friends, with family, and sometimes they see you like, that's nice. It's nice that you took that decision because here is tough sometimes for improve or to find something different. So for me, it was a really good chance.
What's Madrid like as a city? Is it quite, enclosed? Is it quite open? What's the feeling if you went to Madrid?
Well, I always this is one of the cities that I always recommend to people to visit because I think Madrid also teach you to control yourself because there is a lot of, if you are a young person, for example, there is party every day, there is whatever you want 24/7 you can get. So I think also in Madrid I got more discipline, because in my hometown things are closed, early, and there is not too much to do. But I think in Madrid, if I have seen people losing, their mind a lot, studying at that time and having some classmates and people who I knew. Yes, I have seen a lot of people losing themselves in Madrid. And I think Madrid have this point that it can raise you or it can push you down, and it's a good test as a human being.
Who created that atmosphere? Is it the kids coming up? I mean, if you went to Madrid, if you were born there 32 years
Yeah.
ago, would that have been the same as it is today?
No, for me, have a huge impact. I think me, and also it happen all the time when you are in abroad or in another city that is not your place. You will see the difference. You will feel everything that is different too fast. So no, I think if I will probably be raised in Madrid, I will be maybe less. I will trust less on people, and nowadays I still can say that I'm a person who maybe I'm not. I don't want to say naive, but I like to trust on people. I like to give the chance to people. I like to listen what people want to say. I like to understand what people are thinking. So I don't have this individuality, which is I think one of my strengths is like, okay, my job is to make people shine. This is what I do believe. I don't think it's to make myself shine. I will shine as long as they shine. So even Madrid is an amazing city. Even Madrid have you have the Spanish Federation. You have thousands of free courses for coaches. You have different areas with the city, with different football, different cultures. Let's say inside of the city. I think I will never change where I'm from. I mean, so Madrid is good. I recommend to everyone, but yes, I think it demands you much more maturity.
You mentioned free coaching courses, and that sticks out to me quite a lot because if someone who's seen coaches online or in England here, and I understand that the Spanish FA is probably nowhere near as controversial as the FA here in England with VAR and all this kind of nonsense. However, with the free coaching courses that you mentioned and the opportunities given to people like yourself to be able to elevate you onto that stage of success, why is this even available to you? A free coaching course to give you the wings to fly.
Well, not all of them are free. Let's say. I mean, I'm going to be
More
clear
free
with
than
that.
here.
But it's true that you have access to some people that are not the common thing. I mean, I remember some years ago, back in 2014 or something like this, Julen Lopetegui, the former coach of the Spanish national team Real Madrid, he was in the youth teams of of the national team. He came to give us some lessons. Unai Emery was doing the same. So it's people who really, we're talking about people who after a few years, they became really high level. They were high level, let's say, for that time. But this access to people with such an experience, well, I mean, for me, it's a present because you know that it's not such an easy to do that, and you know that you are lucky also to be in a place where there are a lot of players and coaches that can share experiences with you. So in Spain, yes, in that side, I would say that one of the most positive things of being create as a coach in Spain, I think, is the capacity to attend a lot of conferences and to move all around. My first years in coaching, most of the time, or really a lot of time, went on that, on visit clubs and visiting coaches or conferences. I mean, I still love that, but nowadays I have less time, or sometimes I'm not in Spain, so I cannot go. But it's something that I don't understand why more people they don't share their experiences, because as I mentioned before, football is experience, and I think coaching is based on the experience you have. So as much as you can share your experience, you speed up the process of other people.
How do you define a good coach? Because we see with a lot of coaches around the world, they might get sacked, and then someone might come in and they might do a great job. But ultimately, why do they do a good job? Because I saw with, for example, Queen's Park Rangers. I don't know if you're familiar with them over in London,
Mm-hmm.
and they sacked Gareth Ainsworth. They got in a Spanish manager, and
Mm-hmm.
now they're winning their games. They're winning a lot of games. Why? Is it a change of atmosphere? Is it a change of coaching? Because what makes these group of players who are playing football every single day different? 1 minute, and then 2 minutes later, they're a different bunch.
I think the biggest thing I would say is that people trust you. I think you can have the best information. You can have an amazing experience, trophies, or whatever you want to have. I think at the end of the day, there is one link between the coach and the team that you need to find the right way to fit on the club. In this case, if you are in a big club, in the supporters on the daily life. I think people must feel that you have something that you can give them something they want, that you make them feel interest, and that's why it's really important to listen, and that's why it's important to understand where you are. I think the context, I remember when I started in the coaching license, they were talking a lot about the context. And I mean, I was thinking at the time, well, football is football, like the training is the same, the tactics are the same. I mean, what we're talking about that much about this. Then with the time, when you experience different places, you start to understand that the context is 90% of everything, because as long as you cannot understand one person, you cannot touch his heart. So I guess, like in the case that you're talking about, probably some people will think, because now the coach is tougher on the players, or because this and that, or maybe he find the right balance, maybe he find the right message for them, a message that they identify or they can understand. I mean, sometimes it's not about just to push people, sometimes it's about to take it out pressure on people. So that's, I would say, this is the main point. People must trust you. That's why leadership became such an important topic in the last years, because we agree that there are hundreds of good coaches, but the point is to find a way of make people perform, and for that you need to understand it. You need to listen and observe. So trust is everything in the football.
2016 is when your career as a coach started to take off. You moved to Portugal and worked with an ex-Benfica player, Bastos. What was that like? What was that feeling like to be with such a high name?
Well, at that time, I think I learned a lot from that experience. It's one of the ones that I keep on my heart forever, because I did create that chance. I mean, I didn't know no one in Portugal, to be honest. I just knew that after 2 years in Madrid, they came a couple of coaches from Portugal. They show some things in terms of methodologic training things. So me, I said, why we not doing this in Spain? I mean, I didn't understand why we are not learning some things. So I said, well, I need to find out the way to go to Portugal. So at that time, I was studying sports science. I move on I make a transfer to Lisbon University. Even I lost a lot of credits and things. I said, well, I don't care, because I want to learn. So I said, I don't care if I need to make again this one. I said, I pay everything. So that summer, I went to one conference in Basque Country. I came back home, and I went to Real Sociedad. Was bringing some coaches, and they bring a guy from the Sports Science University from Lisbon, but another one, the one that Mourinho and all these people went. It's quite famous there. So they bring one teacher from there, and I spoke to him and I said, look, my target is to go to live in Lisbon. I want to keep coaching, so I would like, if you can advise me, whatever, if there is available. I want to, my only target at the time was like, okay, I want to keep coaching because I need to be active and I need to keep learning every day. So, well, we let this conversation and pass like 1 month and a half. I arrived to Lisbon. I wrote the guy. I sent him an email, and I thought like he's not going to answer, because I said it's impossible that he remember this silly conversation. He did, and he invited me to his university. He showed me the university, and he told me, right now they are looking for a goalkeeper coach in a club there. So I saw that you, in your license, you make a license of goalkeeper coach, because at that time I make one license, not because I really have an special interest of being a goalkeeper coach, but I think it's good to understand what each of the members of the staff are doing. So I took a time and I got that license. So he told me, if you want, you can have an interview tomorrow with them. I didn't sleep that night. I completely didn't sleep. I was thinking, well, I should have the right answers. I should show that I can get things fast, whatever. I went next morning. I need to travel by train. I went, and then I arrived, and just the people just were very kind. I really have a great opinion about Portuguese people, so they were really nice with me. They told me what they could do for me, etc., and what they were expecting. So I said, yes, I want to work here. At that time, they give me just one salary, and they could not provide me a house. But the funny thing is that the people there in the club start to go there, so they saw that I'm making the effort every day to travel there, come. So they have a flat that was empty. So they said, why we don't give to him? Why we don't just leave it everything clean and done, and we give to him. So I basically live in the stadium, let's say, almost that year. So for me, it was not just the first team that at that time they were playing the third league in Portugal, but it was like almost I have relationship with every coach in the club, with every youth teams. My job was just the first team, but I have connection with all of them. So for me, it became like a year of experience there, and a year that for me was the main year that I said, "Wow, I love this. I love this," because we have a moment where the coach was fired, he needed to leave the job, so we were waiting for a new coach. And that time, more than goalkeeper coach, I started to be also assistant, and I start to get more trust, because I went there without even knowing the language, even if it's similar. Well, I didn't know a single word in Portuguese. I learned it for a few weeks. I took the team as preparing everything, leading the session, and I said, well, I love this, because now I see myself with some players that are really in good level, players who have been in first league in Portugal, or they still on loan from first league. And I said, then I can manage them and I can talk to them, and I don't feel nervous. I feel good. So for me, it was the one of the steps that I said, well, I think I can do it further. I can go further.
So you've gone from the north of Spain to Madrid to another city. So city life is now something that's for you, it seems. But why was Lisbon better than Madrid on paper? Because you mentioned Madrid and a hub of football, it's a place of free coaching quarters in a way. And then you moved to Lisbon, just outside the stadium, when you got given this opportunity. If you hadn't got given the opportunity, was Portugal still an option for you?
I think I have something in Portuguese, like in terms of, like, you could see that some managers, really unknown managers, they are doing well. So you start to think that maybe they're doing something well there. So this is one. I think then the life put me these people, these people from university, coaches, Portuguese in front of my face for me to take that decision. Because at that time I also wanted to go to UK, and still a dream, to be honest. But yes, I went to Lisbon, and everything that I telling you, Madrid is tough, is difficult sometimes to get the things, and like, people are not so open. In Lisbon happened the opposite. I mean, I sit down with a lot of people that I would never thought that I could sit down and just talk to them. And I remember once I was watching a football tournament, I met Jorge Andrade, which is a former player of Juventus and Spanish league, and former Portugal national team player. Just like, he tell you, oh, you are from Spain, just sit down here with me, and you can sit down with them. And like, very humble people, very generous people. I think even the players of that team, they tried to help me to find other projects for the future that I didn't close, but many projects that I 2 years before, we will tell me, you have the chance to talk with this player or with this club. I would say, no chance, no chance. And I feel in Portugal is, I would say, out from Spain, a country that I love, especially because of the people. Everyone who I met at that time, I still in touch. I still, in contact, and I think this is the good thing. I think Portugal, they receive the foreigners like in a really good way.
So you were managing in the third tier, and you've had players coming from, the main tier of Portugal, Benfica, all these major
Yeah.
teams, Porto. To have the opportunity to play, work with these players, it's such a big opportunity for you. Something that, like you said, you could only dreamed about a few years before that. But then you've moved to China. You've now moved across the world. Why? Where was the mindset? Why did you think about China?
Well, at that time also was like, okay, Portugal have some limitations, which is the salary, what is the economical conditions you cannot improve. And that time was the rise of Chinese football, and everyone was talking about. I have some offers 2 years earlier. I denied, but well, I said, of course, in football, you understand that you working in what you love, but you also need to think in the future and the financial conditions. There are moments where you can choose by just the football culture or whatever, and some other moments where you need to look another thing. At the same time, I went to China with one of my closest friends, so I thought, well, it can be a good experience, both of us together. And we didn't think too much. To be honest, we finished the season. We were in his house every day looking for some chances to coach abroad. And they called us, actually, one Portuguese coach from Sporting Lisbon. He said, there is this chance to go to China. Do you want? We said, go, let's go. I mean, no problem. I didn't read too much. I didn't, I think at that time I was not even thinking really clear what I was doing. But I think that's the nice thing of not over prepare the things. So we move on there. And if I know honest to you, I went to the southeast of China that is really warm and a lot of humidity. And me, I bring some coats and winter clothes and stuff like this. So for you to understand which level of knowledge I have of where I was going. so it was a good one. It was a good experience. More, of course, in the personal side, in terms of like that you think, well, if I can be here and I'm fine, of course I can live anywhere, because the cultural shock is huge. For me, the first 3 months were extremely difficult.
You stayed there for one season, and you're working with a youth team. You're working with a youth team. What's the Chinese football like? From the youth. For in England, for example, there's maybe a bit more tactical behind the game, but then in Italy, you see a lot more behind the scenes knowledge that players need to have a certain knowledge to be able to play the game. What's it like in China? What's the football like over there?
Well, in China, I think we need to start from coming back to the thing I said. Football is culture. So there, the culture of football does not exist. They don't have a local idol. They don't have a real clear of what football is. I mean, I think at that time they try to copy what they see and to make it in Chinese way. But the problem is like I think football is extremely cultural thing. In Portugal, Spain, England, I think you can see one kid and the kid, even he does not play football too much, he already have the mannerism, and the way of doing things. So there in China is like a white paper. They don't know nothing. And yes, but I would say in China, what surprised me is that technically a lot of players, they were really good. So I was wondering if these players, they will get out from China and they will come to Europe young age, they will make it or not, because as long as you get young group age, I mean, let's say the ones of 18, the level was not good, but you go to see boys of 10 to 12 years old, and some of them you will say, well, it's not too different. The point is that what happened after in their lives, because football is a game where you need to take a lot of decisions, and you need to have determination. And maybe Chinese people are more used to be said what is right, what is wrong, and everything is becoming more mechanical and more protocolarian thing. So I think football have this wild way, of playing. It's like in England. Sometimes you see moments where one player have the ball and you say it does not make sense that he will run, but he believes that he can run, so he just put the ball in front. You have seen with players, you have at that time Gareth Bale or people like this. You said, well, this is not the normal thing of one human being thinking that he can put the ball 30 meters in front and he will run. But I think the Chinese, maybe they lack this self-belief, and they lack. They see as football as a phenomenon, but phenomenon who's coming from outside. They didn't still make their own way of training or their own way of believing on football. So I think this is the most difficult thing, that China have not yet an structure of football.
And do you think that will come? Do you think they'll finally get to that stage?
I don't know because I read some news last week or 2 weeks ago. A friend sent me a news that about the national coach saying that there was some corruption or things like this at that level. So you're thinking, well, if the national team is facing these problems, imagine the other teams. So I think that China it could be a perfect place for football, but maybe there is not the genuine interest on it.
So we have a very limited amount of time to talk about the rest of your career. So you finished your coaching badges, and then in 2019 you went back to Spain, right, to work in I've heard of this team, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Leganes CD?
Yeah, Leganes, yeah. It's now in second league, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And they're quite a reputable team. I've heard of them a lot. And you were coaching their second team. What was that like to come from China back to Spain?
Yeah, well, I was part of the staff for a while. I mean, let's say I made my last coaching license, and then through the help of one person who studied with me, he offered me if I wanted to help on the club. So my role was not extremely important, but I did have the time to learn and to see other people that then they went to first league. So like I have this contact with certain football. The only thing I think that I continue the same way, not afraid of making mistakes, not afraid of going there. Was a little bit everything extreme for me in the summer because I came back to Spain, but then I came back to Madrid and I make the license, and at the same time I was there. So it was a little bit crazy because I couldn't handle all my responsibilities at the time. But was a short period, to be honest. But I take it like a positive thing because I still in touch with this person, for example, that bring me there, and yes, and I think you can see at that level, you can see that it's not such an important certain details that you think sometimes that they can make the difference. But at that level, I think is the competitiveness of the players. Is like everything becomes so competitive. Every decision have a lot of issues and some cost and benefits, let's say. So yes, it gave me this contact with what it could be the Spanish first division.
So in the middle of the season, you decided to go back to the south of Spain for another move, and you managed to make the historical finish of 6th place for an under 16s team. What was that like to make it history for a club?
Well, yes, a small club in the south of Spain. I would say a lot of players have been produced there, and they say like teams like Betis, Sevilla, they eat, let's say, from this sort of clubs. So yes, I arrived there. We have amazing months. We managed to beat Betis youth teams, Malaga youth teams, Granada youth teams. So a lot of clubs from first league with a team that's supposed to not be at that level in terms of like the access we have to the players, but extremely good. How to say, a refresh on my experience in football, because I think in the south of Spain they have this soul, or how to say, this art of create things. This kind of player who is really free, wingers, like they want to take the one-on-one. Many things that maybe in the north we don't have. We have other things. We have workers. We have this culture of sacrifice, but they have this thing of genius side. And even not just the coaching in the club, but also to have the chance to go to the stadium of Sevilla and Betis and watch the matches on live, and to see how people feels the football, because there I think is the game is the last thing how they play. I think the most important thing is like the sense of belong, the to see something special during the game out from the result. The result is super important, but they want to see something, and especially individually, they want to see a number 10 who can do something different, a winger who can take a one-on-one. So yes, Sevilla as a city and this club in this case, they were important for me, because even happened this situation of COVID at the same time. So it started really well, and then was really tricky because we were stopping the training, coming back, all the situation of test and crazy situation. So just a pity that this situation came at the moment where I was enjoying a lot of football. But well, that's life, and that's another experience.
So really quickly then, in 2021, you moved to Georgia, a place near Russia. I think it's near Saudi Arabia, that side, to the right of the map. Why was Georgia the correct option for you? A very small footballing country.
Well, it's coming from the lockdown time. In the lockdown, I make some formation for coaches. I share some things online. So some people start to talk to me from South America, etc. So I met one friend from Georgia, but he was coaching in the north. He was living, like, let's say, 2 hours from my hometown. So he told me if I will be interested to go there. He told me that the country has a good level in terms of individual talents and that it's interesting country. I start to check and I said, well, this country look a little bit like my culture. I mean, it seems like a little bit mountain, and all this area. So I said, well, in terms of life, it seems cheap, it seems good, it seems safe, because at the time I checked and was in the ratings of safe, was quite safe. I said, well, okay, it can be a good chance to move on. At that time, I wanted to study a little bit of Russians, which they speak their local language, the Georgian, but the older people, they speak Russian. So I was like, well, it can be a good chance. I arrived there. At the beginning, my idea was because through this person, I have contacts with one agent, and this agent is an agent who bring actually one coach there to the second league in England. But I try to, well, I make some interviews for one club there, the most historical club there. At the end, it didn't work. I never understood what happened there, but well, luckily I met another person, and local one. He told me, would you be interested to coach with us? I said, okay, let's try. And I was there coaching, and yes, I can say that there is a lot of talent, a lot of good, like the love for football and the love of the kids for football is huge, and etc. I don't know what they lack, because they are, like, I think 4 million population or something like this, so there are not too many people. But now you have two examples of Georgian players. One is Mamadashvili in Valencia, the goalkeeper, and you have in Napoli the winger Kvaratskhelia. That are two examples of what the Georgian football can produce. And I recommend to someone who want to travel or to want to discover something a little bit different from European standards to travel to Georgia, because it's quite cheap, quite open country. So yes.
What was Georgian football like? You said it didn't work out for you, but you must have understood what it was like. Is it fast? Is it slow paced? Why is it recommended for you to other people?
Well, I recommend a lot to pay attention to the young boys, because I think they still have this, how to say, at least in Spain, from my view, we stopped a lot the players from his natural behavior. Let's say, don't take the one-on-one, just pass the ball, or play one ball pass, or whatever, or don't shoot from a lot of distance. There, they don't have this rule. So the boys, when they start the training, they spend a lot of time with the ball, each of them one ball, and they don't try to guide them that much. So I think then you come to a training match and they try things. This is what I love it the most, that you could see a lot of small boys with a really good, kicking on the ball. I mean, very good technique, but I think it's from trying and trying and trying. And even a few days ago, they sent me a video of one of the boys of the club I was, and I saw one amazing pass with the outside feet that sometimes we say, no, don't do it with the outside feet. I don't know. I think this freedom. I think I love it, the freedom. I love that the weather is tough, not as tough in other places, but well, you have many different states of the year, and there is snow. People continue playing. There is completely full of wind. People continue playing. So I think many players are out from the country in a young age, so the league is not extremely strong. But I think in terms of scouting for players, it's a country that I will recommend. And even I was asked for many people in Spain, what do I think? And I said to them, just go and search, because you will find things that we don't have. So.
There's still 2 more countries to get through, and your future in Finland. But you moved to Ghana, right?
Yeah.
And you told me that it's the most transfers completed in African history. Were you the one making the transfers, or what do you mean?
No. The club that I work for in the FIFA ranking of transfers in the African Confederation is the club that is in front. I don't know if it was 63 transfer, or I don't know right now the number, but it's like, okay, they did produce a lot of players comparing to other clubs, and as you can imagine, African countries, they are not the most prepared countries in terms of infrastructure and everything, conditions. And then we go back to how important sometimes is to have these difficulties in life, that the pitch is not perfect, that everything is, the ball is the best one. It's true that we have good, decent pitches and decent conditions, but I think the African players, the only thing they have is football. The boys, they have football, so zero distractions. Maybe now social media, all these Instagram things and this, but usually not too many distractions out for football. So the ones who want to push a little bit harder than the others, usually they can find some reward. But Ghana, especially as a country full of talents, but not a structure. I have been in touch with one person from the federation there in Ghana, and I advised them for one project of software where they can save the videos, and like the people that they go to scout, they have a little bit more information. But yes, right now it's a little bit like when we talk about luck in life, I think it's exactly that. Because, for example, you remember Leicester City player Daniel Amati.
Yes, I remember him.
Okay, so he came for the club that I was, and they have told me about how was his. I think he exited to Norway, if I'm not wrong, before the Premier League, if I don't remember bad. But they told me that a scout came, and they organized some games, and he was looking for a specific player. This Daniel Amati, he was at that day. He was not in the match. He was in the beach because he used to live there. He used to live there, and his life was like this. So they pick up the phone. They call him to come to the match. He didn't want it, and I think the agent of him, or at that time, or the person who represented him, neither. So they fight a lot for him to come. He came. They start the match. After 20 minutes, they close the match. The agent said, we can stop this because I don't need any more time. I already saw what I was looking for. They pick up him, they bring him to Scandinavia, and after that, look at all the changes in his life. So I'm saying the luck is really extremely important, because in that moment maybe he didn't believe. I don't know if he believed that he could do it, but maybe he have some people who actually believe it. And
so from Ghana to Lebanon. So now again, you've traveled the world playing football, which is just an amazing thing. And now the Lebanese Premier League, you managed to win the Super Cup. You were leading the league, and you participated in the equivalent of the Europa League in Asia. Lebanon, what's that like as a country?
Lebanon is like I have how to say, I have, now that I left, I have these two sides. In one side, it's an amazing country in terms of freedom. I think in Europe we live super structured the things. I think in Lebanon, for example, if you go to drive there, people drive like they want, in the sense they want, like everything. But you don't see, or at least I didn't see a single accident. So sometimes you think, oh, maybe we can manage ourselves much better than we do. Because sometimes we need rules, or we think we need rules, but I have seen the proof that we don't need sometimes that many rules. So Lebanon is a little bit this. It's a nightlife, like people live much more in the night than in the day. So you cannot demand from player to be the player, like, the German player or the English player, and to be really disciplined. They are free, I would say, as a country with huge freedom. So there I learned the impact of the culture, because the situation of Lebanon, even right now, even more, is a country with a lot of, how to say, like it's a country with a lot of countries inside, because you have the Christian side, you have the Muslim side. Inside of the Muslim, you have different types. So it's not like everyone is living the same country. It's like everyone is having a different experience of the same place. So in Lebanon, especially to adapt, I think it demands a lot to adapt to their habits, because out from the religious ones, I think there is a lot of habits in terms of society. Like what I'm telling you, it's difficult that people will go to sleep early. It's difficult that people will stop eating the food that they eat, even if it can be not the best one for one athlete. And I think in terms of society also, they need much more that you care about the individual, right? I mean, that you have a lot of individual conversation, that you support the person, that you, let's say, love the person more. I mean, they are so sensible, maybe. And it happened even in Africa. I think these countries that they have been French colonialism countries. I don't know if it's the heritage of that, but I haven't speak with a lot of people and they tell me the same. They are more sensible people to the critic. So, you know, you need to say the things, but you need to always try to say in the most positive way. So Lebanon, as a football, really fast football, really extremely physical. When the players that we have, European players, they came, was difficult for them to follow the intensity because they got used to more up and downs, no, in the way of the ball or the players move. And in Lebanon, I think there is not like breaks. It's like all the time the ball is moving, you're running from up and down, and extremely difficult to coach and to play, I guess.
When you were participating in the equivalent of the Europa League, so the Asia Cup, you said it didn't go well, but as a whole, maybe not just for the club that you were with, as a whole, what's the fan support like at these stadiums in the Asian Cup? Is there a lot of fans or is it quite minuscule?
Well, even in Lebanon, the club that I was in, they already have a lot of supporters. In the past, they have another stadium with 60,000 people. For what they told me in the past, it used to be full. Now it's smaller, but at that time, the level of supporters in the country was huge, and the pressure and the social media, even all this experience, you get them. In the Asian Cup, you feel the same. I think Arab people are quite passionate for football and quite. You feel them in the stadium. You feel them in the stadium. You know, like they like to sing. They like to push for the team. So I never miss that match. You know, I have chance even this last month to go to Emirates and to watch some supposedly the best matches there. And yes, in terms of supporter and of feeling, even you can see now, even you can see in social media that the ones that move much more comments many times is the Arab world. So in that sense, they are amazing. You know, they are amazing because if they take you like one of us, even you are coming from another place. So for me, I never had the chance to live in a Muslim country before. So Lebanon also opened my eyes to other realities, other ways of doing things. And the experience in the Asia Cup is much more the same, you know. So better pitches, I would say, because to be honest, in Bahrain especially, the fields are amazing. The facilities for training and playing are amazing. And yes, I mean, it's always a nice experience of playing international competition.
What was it like to be part of the Asian Cup? Because I know for sure that if I was part of the Europa League, I mean, I would be quite it'll be quite nerve-wracking, you know, for me, and I'm sure for yourself as well.
Well, for me, I felt it. I think it's sometimes like, like how to say, when you dream for something, you maybe think in one way, and maybe when I arrive, the reality is much more simple than that. I mean, like you are excited, yes, but at the same time, a lot of sense of responsibility. I think more than thinking in how cool it seems like. I think you think more like, okay, we need to beat, or we need to prepare a good, we need to give the right information. I think it happened the same before when we won the Super Cup this year, last year. At that time, I was thinking, well, if we win this match, because we were all the precision was based in winning this Super League, the Super League, Super Cup. I think when the moment we beat in penalties, which is you know how to say, is the most exciting moment. Even like this, I feel more release than happiness, maybe, you know, because you feel, well, was the duty was this one. We came for this. So this sense of responsibility, I think it takes much more. And even nowadays, I'm not watching too much what we have done or looking at the picture with the cup or whatever. So it's nice, but I think it's nicer to think all the way till you achieve this kind of small achievement or this achievement that you were dreaming. Because of course, coming from a small town, I mean, I wouldn't think that I will have the chance to go and play around the Asian countries or get a trophy or whatever, you know.
So now you're in Finland. So you've recently just moved there, and you are the manager. So you have now the role of becoming the manager at the age of 32. Such a young age. You've got a whole career essentially ahead of you, because if you could play professionally or semi-professionally, you'd still be a player, you know. So
Yeah.
you've got all of this time to prepare yourself for maybe the Premier League, La Liga, you know, Bundesliga, whatever it may be. Why is Finland this hub for you to accelerate you onto the next opportunity? And how long are you expecting to stay there for?
Well, I think Finland have two things, because I have 2 months, 2 months of breaking from the last experience. So I went to Greece. I visit Greece. I met some people there. For example, I have an interest of Greece League, and then I traveled to Dubai, and I have been a month and a half there or something, and also trying to understand. I never have the chance to go there, so I try to understand how things are working there. What is the reality of the football? So there were some proposals to stay in both places, not the ones that I wanted, of course. So then I have a few contact before with Finland, but nothing serious. So the same person who contacted me before they asked me again if I have the possibility to come. I thought at that time, well, Scandinavia is a really good place to expose yourself as a young coach, because they give a lot of chances, not here, but in Finland, in Norway, in Sweden, everywhere, you know, they give a lot of chances to young coaches. So I was thinking this is one thing that I like, and then the second one is that in terms of technology, GPS, all this organization level, they are quite good, you know. So I said, well, I think one thing that I like in my career is to have more of this technological support, and also the chance of believing that you can grow in a country or in an area being young, right? So I think Finland gave me this. Till now, it's not. It's like I think a week or something that I arrived here, or a week and a half. So it's still a little bit tough. The weather, especially right now, is really tremendous thing. It's tremendous. So people here, the locals, they told me that it will go just improving. So I said, well, that's good. If this is the lowest level we can reach. So from now, I expect everything is going up. I think also it pushed me here to be much more organized, which I think is good for the targets that I have in the future, because I think I'm good in instinctive behave. Let's say, no, like what I was mentioning you about Ghana or Lebanon, where the things are not too much organized, so you need to react constantly. And here, people demands more that everything is, you know, everything is organized 3 days before, even things that you think is not really especially needy, but they do like this. So I think it can be a quite different experience, and more than the weather, that is not something that I really extremely enjoy. I think from the organization side, I think can be a different or completely different experience.
And lastly, Sven, what would be your ideal goal in the next 15 years as a manager? Where would you like to see yourself in this period? Or you mentioned that you have some objectives for yourself. Could you let us know what that would be?
Well, I mean, there are two countries especially where I would like to work, which is Italy and England. Many times I said to everyone that my dream will be to be in Premier League on Serie A, because I think there is where the best people are, not the best players, the best coaches, the best institutions, the best media, everything. All the things are around. So I think just to be part of it as assistant coach, as a whatever you want, I think is like to feel that okay, I belong to part of the best. And I think it's nice to think that for a while you can feel this satisfaction with what you do, like to say, well, I was able to reach this level. So for me, is these two leagues, I would say, is the most important ones. And then, of course, we would like to have an experience in Spain in the first league. But it's true that Italy, for the way that how people live the football, the supporters, and England because all the level, how they reach the level, and even the history of the clubs, because the history of the clubs is huge. I think these two places I would like to, even for a day I will pay anything just to work there. So my opinion is reachable. So I think we need to dream high. Then I'm not thinking all day on this, but you know that you want that. And then I would like, maybe in the last stages of my career, maybe to travel to other countries and to make more things like now. But I would like a couple of years, a couple of 10, 15 years in a high level, because I think from that is also good to, to go in the ceiling of the game and to see if you really like and you love as you thought that you will love. So we were talking about dreams, about experiences. My curiosity now is to think, if tomorrow I will work in Manchester United, in whatever, in Rome, in whatever the club was, would you feel like it's where you want to stay? Is it your place? So I have this curiosity. So I think I need to, guess if I was the right person for the place that I thought that I am.
Sven, that has been an hour and 20 minutes talking about your career and all your objectives leading up to this moment. And I wish you all the best in Finland. And thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Jamie.